Alright, so winter time or early spring here is a great time to take a look here at kind of what happened and what JP's done. So he's got, a field that he's taken out of those woods he bought. You can kind of see where he's run an edge along. I'm guessing he's going to eventually take those trees out and expand that field to that space there. Assuming that is within his border and so forth. So just have to see, but let me take a peek. So he's got a couple sawmills up, maybe due to the amount of trees he was taking out. He decided he wanted to go ahead and do that. But yeah, just wanted to give you the view. So he's got, a shed there for equipment, a silo, looks like a little house, maybe just so that he knew he had a house, not sure. That's about it, but anyway, I'll jump back in once I'm ready for next steps. So I'm going ahead moving the stuff off the field this morning because, as you can see, we have gotten our funds delivered, and it's time to get this expansion or changeover fully going. So last night I had a bit of an issue. I was trying to get the grass field fertilized, and we were having server performance issues. So the ping time you see, that's like 26. Oh goodness, and this is the problem I have run into. It's just it is a little tight in here. But that you see that's kind of what we were running around. So it wasn't that it was a lag with network connectivity, but like the equipment was moving at like 2 to 3 miles per hour at best. And I tried various times throughout the day, and other FMs were having the same problem, so we determined it wasn't like someone just had a configuration on their individual machine that was chewing up resources. So I did not get the fertilization. I didn't have as much time as I thought, but I got most of it done. I used up all that fertilizer. So done a little bit of work just smoothing out that area, but I think I need to flatten it for such a large structure as the cow barn, because otherwise I think I'm just running into a situation where I'm going to have a problem. So let me start with that. And I'm going to try to put it over here as much as I can, because I don't want to block the driveway if I can avoid it, but I want to have enough room to move around. And my hope was that I could also, I'm not going to be able to place 2 of those, I don't think, but let me see. Alright, so this is the enclosure that I'm looking at, and basically I don't want... So these were the 2 that I was looking at. This is the one that I'm going to go ahead with, and I just want to make sure that I don't have, a trigger issue, and I give myself enough room to move around a bit. So this is as far zoomed out as I can be. So we've got the slurry dump. I think it's the slurry. It might be the milk dump there. No, that's slurry. I think milk's on the other side. And then that piece sticking out is the feeding robot area. That is where we need to put our supplies to make the feed. Alright. So we've got that. Good news is the trigger points don't appear to be hidden. We've got a little bit of a rise there, which is fine. Alright, and then what I need is the fermenting silos. So these were the 3 that we had. And as I said, in my testing, this one did about 325,000. This one had quite a bit, but it also had a faster production. And because I may, toss another one here at some point, if I want to expand, I'm going to go ahead and just, go with this. I think this will give me enough room to kind of drive in around the trees. It's just interesting that it gets higher and higher up there. So yeah, maybe I'll want to do it like there. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So yeah, there's some differences here, but the important thing is there's a trigger. Certainly looks like I can drive, but that was the concern, is I knew it wasn't entirely flat. You can see our tracks where they were, how that kind of ended up in a lower area here, and that's because we're more aligned here, and now we're rising up a bit. So it's just, this is such a large structure. So yeah, I think the milk actually comes out of here, because I believe that's the the piece where it stores it and so forth. And so you get the milk from here. Obviously we'll drop the animals there, and then we'll go from there. And so if you've not used this before, and I frankly had not either until I played with it a little bit, so we've got it clearly marked, our silage, our straw, and our hay. And so this will take 120,000 liters. And each of those are 100, even though it looks significantly different. And then over here, as you can see the symbol, this is where we drop our mineral feed. And then again, our slurry will get emptied from there. So, this looks okay. It doesn't look ridiculous with the ground. Obviously there's pieces. So, and similarly, this seems flat enough that I can drive here to put things in, and then obviously get things out. So you can see here, we can put grass, hay, or chaff in, and it's literally just a pass-through 1-for-1, and a really good volume of activity. I don't know how much grass we're going to get off everything and so forth. So what I'm going to want to do and spend some time with now is getting, because there's no point in getting cows if I can't feed them. So I want to start getting my material going on the field, but at this point, we're in good shape that way, and I may get a few cows. The other thing I need to check on, so let me grab my truck and head over, to the animal transport trailer, because what I don't know, and actually I can just do that in my screen. So if I go here, so I can only bring 12 cattle at a time, but you know, obviously I'd like to avoid the delivery fee and so forth of them bringing a lot of cattle over. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. And at a minimum, I'm going to have to take 3 trips to get rid of pigs. So what I probably am going to do then, because if I recall, things go relatively quickly. Let me check on a few things here, so I'll be back. Alright, so I'm going to have to divert a bit, as always. But thinking this through, I've come upon a course of action. So I've technically still got time to have pigs get a little older and make some more money. I'm going to have to feed them again, but that'll be, you know, easy enough. One more set of feeding will top them off and get them in a good spot. But, you know, even these theoretically could go 7 months before they're maxed, and I don't need that much time. But what I'm thinking here is, obviously I need things to be moving along here, which means I need silage, straw, hay. Silage and hay might not be that difficult because basically I'm going to mow that grass field, which is ready today, and, you know, I can get grass into that, and then I could go ahead and, you know, to add windrow and collect the hay, which also is, I think, in FS22 is an instantaneous thing where once you tat it, it's immediately turned into hay. There isn't drying time and things like that. But the kicker is straw, and I need to get straw from a crop. So the crop, the fastest crop, is the one you can see here, crop type oat, because it grows in 4 months. So that's going to be our time, is going to be the 4 to 5 months. So I need to go ahead and plant an oat crop along with the grass so that I have what I need to feed the cows, and then I can finally start to get some cows. So basically in the fall here, we are going to be ready. Now, obviously if I had kind of figured this out a month or 2 early, I could have gotten oats in the ground and kind of been halfway there already, but I can't go back. That's not how FSN works. This will give us our first look here. So yeah, I was hoping that this was not that large of a footprint, but it sticks out quite a bit, obviously, because I was hoping I could have a line down the middle and then potentially put stuff over here, because eventually, as I said, what I may do is do a dairy, you know, and maybe I'll put the dairy where the pigsty was. I'm kind of eyeing this space here. It might fit there as well. I just don't know that I could get around. But those are longer term plans. So I'm going to go ahead, as always, get myself topped up. So we are all set. So this little mess over here was me getting rid of the lime that I had in the spreader before I could pick up the fertilizer that I used to use up the solid fert. So there we go. We've got our cow shed and our fermenting silo. I could have basically put them in a few months later, but they're there now. Again, can't really change the perspective. And then we had done wheat here, so at least we're changing crops, which should be helpful. Gonna lower this down, and we're gonna begin, or not. What is happening again? Somehow the back disconnected again. I do not understand how this happens every time. because I am not disconnecting these things. Alright, so there we go. Get our oats going. Just get our GPS set up so that we'll be able to use it when it's time. Let me go this way because I'm running the risk of running off the edge. I think I caught everything. Let me just take a quick peek. Yeah, I did. But I want to be careful that I'm not pulling too far away. But yeah, I'm pretty excited, I guess, of looking forward to the changeover. Because I don't know that I thought I would ever say that, but I think cows might be easier than pigs. It's just the amount of constant feeding they require, and once again, there's no output product from them. It's just them. Where, you know, I could do the same type of thing. I could, you know, raise some beef cattle if I wanted to. So there's always that possibility where I have one bin of dairy and one bin of beef. I don't know. I don't think that'll be the case because I'm not a big fan of just taking animals and selling them. So, alright. So again, I've learned my lesson here in the fact that I know the movement, if I line up here, will not be good, so I need to go further this way. And then I guess I'll figure out where things are locked at. Yeah. Okay, stop doing your thing. Snap to the line. Alright. Because this is bigger and it's not the harvester. This may actually be okay just starting, and then if I have any left, it's going to be a tiny bit at the end, but so I'm going to come back down here. But yeah, there's definitely an outlay. I think I'm going to have enough money. You know, otherwise, obviously, I'm going to have a bit of a conundrum here, but I'm going to have to figure things out pretty quickly. In that, alright, there we go. I just want to make sure we're lining up. We are, alright. So now we're getting that edge, and I knew it would be very close right there to the end. So the buildings were basically done because we don't need a bunker silo. The fermenting silo is going to handle that. And then again, we don't have to get grass in there, cover it, you know, compact it, cover it, wait for it to turn into silage. Like it's a cleaner structure this way. And then I'm generating the silage I need. I need crops like this to generate straw. So, you know, the big question that's going to be coming up in the short term is, what is the consumption of things? And am I just growing grain crops constantly because I need straw every year? Or am I going to be able to have enough? And then what that could turn into as an additional building is I may need some sort of a hay loft or something if I want to store some additional straw and things like that, and hay, and you know, because I need the raw hay to go with the silage as well, and the straw. So it's just kind of figuring out what I really need. If I can avoid a hay loft, I certainly will try to do that. But if I'm suddenly getting millions of liters off the field, I can't imagine we're going to get that much. But you know, we have to keep in mind, it's not as if I've ever baled these fields or anything. So this is an unknown quantity here of what I'm going to encounter, because these aren't small fields. So, I mean, we do need to be honest with that. So now we're seeing the normal lag where I've got red numbers, yellow numbers. You know, this behavior is normal. I'm, of course, a little bit paranoid now as anything happens, like, oh my goodness, is the server starting to lock up again? But we'll need this crop for that. We'll be able to get the grass and the hay we need over there. You know, the thing that could throw off things is, once again, figuring out the volume we've got. So I think what I'm going to do, as I think about this out loud, I'm also trying to be very deliberate, because again, I've now got fields next to me that have crop, so I have to be careful I don't plant over them, and I need to pay attention to what I'm doing here. But I think what I'll do when I'm working the grass field is cut some grass first, and at least a couple rows, you know, ted and windrow it to collect it, so that I get some sort of an indicator of the volume I'm getting off that field. Because the thing that could throw a monkey wrench in there is if I'm not getting a lot or enough that I can't mix gray, I'm mixing the word in my head, grass and hay. We can call it gray, I guess, for short term. You know, that's our gray field over there. It's gonna produce grass and hay at the same time. Be a whole new farming simulator lingo there. But you know, my hope is that I can kind of split the output and then, you know, do half, or, you know, some segment of it, as we've always talked about. You know, it's kind of like, what's the ratio that I split that into? I just don't know that I'm going to get enough, because, you know, the grass has to serve, I mean, honestly, it's almost triple duty, if we're really getting down to it, where straw is the only thing I'm getting here, but I'm getting hay, silage, and then I need grass to produce silage. So, I mean, I guess I'm getting hay and grass off the field, and, you know, so some of it I need to process. And so the possibility that is running through my head of where I may not need a hay loft is, you know, I can throw things into the fermenting silo, and once again, it's not as if I have to mow the grass every time it's ready to go. And grass, I believe, is ready in a couple months, or 3 or 4 months. I just don't know if it regrows faster. I know planting it, it had 3 cycles, but I believe it's, you know, harvestable. All right, I am not doing that again. I've done that before, and then I'm coming back, so I need to go further out. It's just always a trick here because of the sharp angle. It just is a bit misleading in that you think you can turn around a lot closer than you actually can. But yeah, this will be good. There we go. So now we're almost lined up. Now we're certainly lined up. And now we'll continue going forward. You know, and what I may ultimately do then is use this part here, this straight segment, and turn it into something too, because at this point I don't know that having that little bit, and the something that might make sense might be grass, because honestly, now that I think about it, yeah, otherwise I can't easily get to my road. If I like make it plantable crop, I'd need to leave something through, and that doesn't make sense, because I don't know that I'm going to get that much out of that. So I'm just now in my maximizing mode in my head and thinking, well, I've got that dead space there, and some of it is, you know, this space was much larger than I thought it was really going to take up, but, You know, it's amazing when you look at that and you're like, oh, I got plenty of room. So I think, again, measuring that out, I think I estimated that center section, and that includes the ends and so forth, all the way to the water, is 5 acres. And so to think that, you know, 20% of that or something is just taken up by, it's almost like it's an acre cow enclosure, which is probably not in reality very large, but it just seems like a lot. But yeah, if I have extra grass and hay, I can then be putting it into the fermenting silo, just creating tons of silage, and then as long as what I thought, I love this, kind of got that GPS lock that sometimes happens. So, oops. Sorry, my brain is malfunctioning as to which keys I need to press. So what I was saying is, if I can immediately kind of TED and it's hay instantly, you know, there's less of that planning ahead per se, which I think is something else that I'm going to find it's going to create less anxiety on my part, where with the pigs I was always worried, like, all right, I'm going to have to keep looking ahead on 4 crop types, in essence, of when am I running short, knowing that I have a growing window of time sometimes that, you know, is going to be 8 months or something. So it's not like if I'm suddenly out of, say, sorghum, I can be like, oh, I'm going to plant it and it'll be ready tomorrow. You know, I'd be out of sorghum likely. And so I'd be kind of going the other way, where I'd be planting those crops maybe a little earlier than I needed. The nice thing here is, other than, great, I need a cereal crop and I need straw, and so in this case, yes, I'm picking specifically for the fastest growth cycle, because, you know, barley is 6 months, and then wheat is 7. So those are the longest. I think they may put out more straw, so ultimately, you know, I may do that soon as well, depending on what I really get off of this here. But, you know, the challenge I'll have, I guess, that goes back to the hayloft, is straw doesn't go in the fermenting silo. Straw just needs to stay straw, but I could bale it, but then I'm baling it, picking it up, then I've got to have bale stores or something. Yeah, I don't think that works either. So yeah, there's some complexity here for sure that is not straightforward right now. Alright. I am, again, not lined up enough. It's almost as if it's like, do I run a second headland there? Because obviously I also don't want to stall out in the water. That would be obviously not what we want. I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to come up with some fancy word, but it would be bad. Oh, it is working. Alright. What is happening? Now I hear it. Oy. This is just very challenging today. I don't know why. I suddenly can't operate my equipment appropriately. But in addition to what I've got now, yeah, I have to do all the grass work equipment. So I've talked about the forage wagon, and then I need, obviously, mowers. So I was looking at the self-contained mower, but that's almost $400,000, I don't think it, and I don't think the speed is any different, and it's actually smaller than I can get with some mower attachments. The question is, do I have the horsepower on my tractor to operate that? So I'm going to have to kind of take a look at all that. So I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to work, because I don't want to get rid of the small Massey I have. I think it's a Massey that I'm using, that has the front loader on it and so forth, because it has the thin tires, and so I can run through the field and fertilize, for example, without any challenge. I mean, that's what I'm using to pull my sprayer and all that. But so there's just a lot of that going on. But the mower there, I think, is it'll go up to 14 meters, where the regular mower is only 10, and it's going to cost me basically, actually it'll be less than half the dollars. I can do all of what I need with the front and the back, or the butterfly mowers, for under 200,000. So and it's well under the 190 that I think would be the halfway point. So I'll need that. I'll need a tedder and a windrower to be able to then pick things up effectively with the forage wagon. And then in the future, if I decide somehow I'm going to bail and sell them, which I had been doing in Seneca, it just, I didn't have cattle, so I don't know that I really want to be doing that, because I don't think it really helps that much. I think I'm going to get a lot more from just letting the cows produce milk and going through that. And I don't know that I would truly have any issue, because, I think I talked about when I got the pigs, or was debating going into pig production, that what I didn't want was a farm that was just, okay, all I'm growing are crops to feed pigs. Somehow it feels different if all I'm doing is growing crops to run cattle. And I think it's because, again, the cattle are producing milk, and so it feels like there's output other than they're just consumers. They're just eating, and nothing's happening other than they're growing, which is how, they produce a product. They get turned into bacon or whatever at the meat processing facility that doesn't exist in the FSN world. But but I think I think the tedder might be over 100,000. I think that might be 149 for one of the bigger tedders. But I think I was able to find a windrower for under 100 that was the one that made the most sense, because I think it's like 0.3 meters smaller, but it's like $20,000 or $30,000 less. Instead of being like 90,000, I think it's like 62,000 or something. And it's the same speed. So, and I think it's 16 meters that we're talking about, and 15.7. So, we'd have a decent sized working with, and so the additional time for the cost is going to be negligible, I think. So, adding 33% of the cost for 5% or less more width doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Because, at that point, 10% would be like 1.6 meters, and we're talking 0.3 meters, so it's really closer to 2% increased working width for 33% more costs. So I think that gets you to where we're at. I was, kind of hoping when I started accumulating the material for this episode, was like, yeah, hey, I'm putting the grass in, and then next thing we're going to get everything built and get our cows and go. And again, I've got to divert because I just didn't truly think it through. If I got cows, I'd have nothing to feed them with, and again, it would work in FS22, but I then even have more money that's just sitting there kind of not functioning than I do now with the building and the fermenting silo sitting there. But so cows aren't going to come till at the earliest next time we're together, but at this point I think I've got enough that I'm just going to keep going. But what I'm going to get done today is I will finish up planting, and then I will spray for weeds so that we have that benefit. I do think that I am seeing a little bit more output. I don't know that it's the 15%. Maybe it's just psychological wishing. I don't know. But regardless, that's what I'm going to do today. And then obviously I'll have to fertilize this field tomorrow, just like I fertilized the grass field yesterday. And then the hope would be, it'll be what, May, June, July, August. So I think in September we're going to be able to harvest. And then obviously when we harvest, that will involve dropping straw. And so we're probably looking at September is best case for realistically looking at getting any cows. So I'm going to step away now. I think I've kind of talked enough, and I'm going to get today's work done. And if today's work starts to include mowing grass, if I suddenly have time for that and I can start getting that going, that will be in another episode anyway, because there's definitely a lot that has happened here and starting to get ready and talking about getting ready. So a lot of future thoughts and so forth, but I will see you next time.